Morning, Mikael.
Good morning.
Any fresh injury worries after Wednesday night?
No, we didn't have any surprises there, and hopefully everybody will train well today and available for tomorrow.
Jurrien Timber and William Saliba, of course, weren't part of that squad in midweek. Are they okay?
Yeah, they are okay. Obviously, they have played a lot of minutes. They've been carrying a few niggles, and it was a really good opportunity for us to offload them a little bit and refresh them.
The news that broke this morning, great news for you. Max Dowman signed a pre-contract agreement ahead of his first professional contract, and he'll be 17, make me feel old at the end of this year. But can you just put into words how happy you are and what message that sends from this football club?
Yeah, it's a proud moment to see him yesterday signing that deal in front of his family and his loved ones, and yeah, big credit to everybody that has been involved in that journey with him to bring him all the way to the first team, and especially in the manner that they've done it. And now we have an amazing talent that day by day I think we need to shape, because it's so much there.
Can you, Mikael, can you just reflect on the past week? Because I'm guessing you might have had to have lifted the players after Sunday. I know you've spoken about it pre the Kairat game. How much did Wednesday night help, though, just to dispel everything that happened last week?
Well, it's just understanding where you are. Certainly, when you lose a game, you have a lot of feelings, because especially this group of players are so competitive and they seek for excellence. And when you don't reach it, you ask yourself questions, and we did that. But I think my role there as well is to bring optimism and reality of where we are, and our club has a long history, and to find a moment where in February we are in the position that we are is very difficult to find. So guys, we are doing so many things so well, and let's focus mainly on that. And for sure we want to improve, we want to be better in every area, but with that sense as well of self-confidence and conviction that we are in the right path.
You said you needed to bring optimism and reality. Did anyone need to lift you?
No, in these moments, no. Normally I'm the opposite, and when we are doing so well, I'm there with the stick to say this is not good enough, this is not good enough. The other day, no, because I know how much they wanted, the amount of games and the demands that we put on those players every day, and those moments they need to understand and feel that we are right behind them, that I'm mainly responsible for that, and that they keep playing with that freedom, with that enjoyment, as I discussed the other day, and make sure that journey is beautiful, because what is ahead is great, and everybody has to be part of that, but in a good sense and with good humor and with good optimism, and looking forward to it.
Can I ask you about Martin Odegaard and his form? It's 1 goal and 3 assists. I know numbers can say one thing, performance is another. Is there any part of you that's concerned, and is there any part of you that is thinking about maybe to take him out of the firing line a little bit and rest him?
So those are the numbers, but we have to give the full numbers as well, that he's played much less minutes than any other season as well, because he's been 3 times injured. That's the reality. We want to improve that for sure. We want him affecting the game in the areas that we can win football matches, that's for sure. But if you know Martin, how he works every single day, I have no doubt that that will come.
After nearly a year, Kai Havertz made his first start. Is he ready to go again and start against Leeds? Is he fit enough? Is he strong enough?
Yeah, he is ready. Obviously, he started the other day. Obviously, it's been a long period, and now we need to manage that load and the games that we're going to select for him to start. But it was no reaction to that. I think it was super positive. You could see straight away the impact that he can have in the team. So he's ready.
Just final one for me, just on Kai. How do you think he's going to help the other strikers in the team? Not only just for the load, but also to know that they've got that competition back again.
More than the competition, which I understand we have different characteristics with the nines, but as well Kai can play in different positions, and his main quality is that he makes you better somehow. The way he moves, communicate with this, gives you information, moves around, is a very difficult player to mark, and especially he opens up a lot of spaces for the rest of the players. So I think they're going to be very happy to have him around.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
From the Premier League.
Hi, Mikael.
Hi.
Just touching on that again, Kai Havertz and Jokkers, they seem to have a connection. Immediately, Havertz turned middle of the pitch, got the assist, Gyökeres returned the favour, took the defender away for the Havertz goal. When you signed Gyökeres initially, did you have that in mind to have Havertz behind him and sort of in the left centre space? And how much do you think that will change your midfield? Because obviously someone will also have to come out. Is that something you're comfortable to do?
Yes. So, well, we knew when we signed Victor as well that Kai was going to be out for still a long period and Gabi Jesus was nowhere near. So we hoped that this relationship was going to build in the right way, but we didn't know when. So the other night we saw a lot of positive things. Obviously, it will depend on the opponent and how they behave, what formation they use. But there are options that are obviously really, really positive to the team, whether he plays as a 9, as an attacking midfielder, and to have that combinations, whether it is at the start or throughout the game, I think it's something very good, and it can impact the game in a really powerful way.
You've spoken so highly of Norgard. You've mentioned another player, his ability to make everyone around him better on and off the pitch. You said his preparation's top tier. He said himself it's a big squad when everyone's talking about his minutes, and that will probably help towards this end of the season and everything you're competing for. When you're picking your matchday squad and he's not in it, what is the thought process behind that? It's hard because he's competing with.
At the moment, there are 2 or 3 players that have to be out of the squad.
Yeah.
That's our reality. I cannot change that. These are the rules. Hopefully, the Premier League next season, instead of 18 outfield players, it will do 20. I beg them from here, like it's in the Champions League, because it's much better to manage the squad, to maintain the value of the players, to maintain the mental health of the player, because nobody wants to get out of the squad. So I beg them that if we can, between all of us, help us on that, we can we can deal with hotels, travels and all that, and that would be very, very helpful for everybody, because that's the worst thing when you need to leave somebody. But at the end you have positions, players that can play in various positions, and you cannot overload certain positions and weaken some of them. So that's normally the process to make that decision. Because it's never about, if it's about how he trains, how he behaves, how he talks, how he helps everybody, he needs to be in every minute of every game.
I love that. And finally, Brando Bailey-Joseph came on, had a debut, another 17-year-old. There's a lot of talk in the Premier League about youngsters promoting people from the academy, but I don't think people realise how big the jump actually is. In your management style, what are you looking for to separate a youngster who's actually ready?
Another 2 spots in the squad is great as well, so we can bring more young players, more solutions, more happiness there, the right moment. So that's something only is going to help. So hopefully we can do that, but it's great. At the end they need to understand and especially feel that door is open, you know, that the dream is possible, and they've been training with us now for a few days, and we find the right moments to do that. We need to get them that taste, and then we have to see how they behave in that environment. It's the only way to understand whether they can contribute to the team or not.
Thank you.
Alex from the BBC.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
There's been a lot of talk about how you don't have a clear scorer in the Premier League, but how important will the return of Ricardo Calafiori potentially be because of his unpredictability and to help unlocking those forwards?
Yeah, well, Rick has been instrumental in the way, especially that we attack, and he has unique qualities to occupy spaces and to create things that probably the qualities of the other fullbacks are different. So when we need them, they will be there. Now he's fit, he's available, and we'll have to wait and see when we can use him.
Tom?
Hi, Mikel. Congratulations on the Max agreement.
Thank you.
We heard previously that he suffered an injury similar to Mosquera, who's since returned to the squad. So I'm curious, what's the timeline with Max's return?
It was a little bit more than Mosquera's. Obviously, we need to be as well. He's growing, and we need to be very careful. We're a little bit more protective. It's true that he has a different schedule as well because he needs to go to schools and that. So we need to respect a lot of things throughout that process. But I think he's quite close. He's on the pitch now. He's doing well, and hopefully we're going to be able to see him soon.
And Darmesh asked about Martin earlier on as well and his form at the moment. I noticed on the field that he drops quite deep sometimes to try and link the play and get the ball. You mentioned earlier how you want him to get into the positions that he's going to affect the game more. When he does drop into those deeper roles, is that by design or is that as a result of others not doing certain things and he needs to get into those areas?
It's a bit on his nature, and in my nature is to go to the opposite side. But we need to respect as well the qualities and the talent of players, and within that they need to feel as well the freedom in attack, especially to do what they believe is best there.
Matt from the Standard.
Hi.
You've had a fair few academy players obviously come into the first team. Ethan made his debut really young too. Where does Max sort of rank in the academy players you've seen come through?
In terms of talent or?
Talent, mentality, all the things.
Yeah, well, certainly one of the best. I mean, what he's done with us at the age of 15, me personally, I haven't seen it before. Only with a guy that used to play in Barcelona, but maybe not even that. But yeah, he certainly has, not only that, he has a certain charisma as well and personality that he doesn't get overwhelmed, whether it's by the situation or the stadium or the opposition, and that's a huge quality to have.
And when you're sitting down with players like him, an academy player, trying to get them to sign a contract, how important are players sort of like Bukayo as an example, sort of as the pathway is there for them?
Well, the fact that obviously we have very good examples at the club, it is very helpful. Then it's down not only the player as well, but the family as well, because obviously they are in a crucial part of their education and their development, and we are very responsible of that. But it's been great. He's got a great family. The communication between us has been very, very productive over the years, and now I think they trust what we're going to do with him, and now it's down to him and us to build an amazing career with him.
Hi Nico. Just on the on-pitch relationships and connections, with how busy January has been, I mean, a game every 3 days, no midweek off, how much time have you actually had to figure out those new connections and work on them? Because yeah, it just seems like there's been no time.
To figure it out a lot, to work very little, unfortunately, because we haven't had time, and obviously the availability of the players are crucial in relation to that. But yeah, constantly build that. Now we have some new ones as well with some of the players that in the last few weeks are being available, and learn quickly. The quicker that we learn, the better, because we will know what is more effective against certain opponents as well, and we'll be better.
And on that, with the first goal the other night, I think the word you've used quite often is like vertical in terms of when Arsenal playing well, and that seems that they were very vertical. How pleasing was that, and would you like to see that type of football more?
Yeah, it depends what the game needs. You can be vertical when the opponent behaves in a certain way. When they have 10 players inside the box, you cannot be vertical. You can maybe shoot from the edge or create chaos in the box or do something different or generate set pieces. So if they want to defend there, make sure they defend there, but with 6-7 players inside the box. So depends on how the opposition behaves and the opportunities that you have in relation to space and time.
James, ESPN.
Okay, we talk a lot about the fine margins in the title race. I just wondered what your reaction was when City signed Gay and Semenyo this month.
That's business. I don't know. I know what they're going to do and what they've been doing over the last 10-15 years. So obviously, no surprise. They want to win, and they will do everything to win.
I mean, they look like sort of win now signings. You know, players who know the league. I just wondered, does it make you look at the last few days of the window any differently?
Not because of them, because if we have any issues, we need to be on top of that, but that's not a surprise. They did it as well last year, very aggressively when it was needed. And we have our ambitions, but as well we have our own restrictions, and we need to know that we have to do what we can do and what we believe is the right thing to do.
And Pep's called Arsenal the best team in the world last week. He's also talked about how they have the sort of know-how to win the title, sort of implying there's a difference there between City and Arsenal. Do you think he's playing mind games with you a little bit?
With me?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Do you still sort of talk?
Yeah.
Even though you're two top clubs.
Yeah, I don't talk like with my wife every 3 days, but we talked and quite generally, and I think he talks about how he feels, and that's it. And if there are mind games, there are mind games, but I don't pay too much attention, because at the end you have to go on the pitch and deliver.
Because people would find it surprising that you can maintain that relationship and yet be rivals at the same time.
For me, the surprising thing will be not to, and I think it will be a really bad example for sports. And I think in the sport you have to learn, and probably the biggest lesson that the sport has given us is the relationship, for example, that Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer had. And I'm not at that level at all, but one of the best in the history, or the two best, one of the best sportsmen, the relation they have between them when they have to play final one against each other. So how the hell I'm not going to have a great relation with someone that I admire, I work with, and he's a colleague. But the same with any other opponent. When it goes to the court or to the pitch, that's forgiven.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Harry, BBC Radio.
Hi, Mikel. You spoke quite a bit after last weekend's game about the need to enjoy the position that you're in as a group. It seems from the outside that there was a bit of a sort of psychological reset. Have you spoken at all about maybe a tactical reset? Is that something that you think is required?
Well, depending on the game, 3 days before Manchester United, no. In the first half an hour against Manchester United, no. The way we give the ball against Manchester United, big yes. So depending on the action, depending on the moment of the game, and the way we concede the 2 goals, big yes.
Okay, we'll do the last 2 in the hours live. First up here.
Good morning, Mikel.
morning.
Abdi here from Ventures. One, Declan Rice is about to make his 300th Premier League appearance tomorrow. How proud are you of him for reaching such a proud milestone?
Yeah, especially at the age that he's doing that. I don't know how many players they've done that so early. So that shows the consistency, the professionalism that he has, because to be able to play only at this level is just already a big thing, but as well the manner and the performances that he's put in throughout those 300 games.
And the second question is, only Arsenal and Chelsea have scored more set-piece goals than Leeds in the Premier League. How do you nullify that threat tomorrow?
Well, first of all, understanding what they do, conceding very little, that's the best way for sure. And if we do concede, just to defend with your lives and good organisation to try to prevent that happening.
Phil from Pierre.
Just, hi Michael, just picking up on your relationship with Pep, do you think it sort of shows that maybe the times have changed? Because obviously back in the day, say, Arsenal obviously didn't have a very good relationship with Fergie, they were really at each other's sort of throats. Do you think that's just sort of a sign of the times now, that there's maybe less rivalry in sport than there once was?
I don't know, but I think that relationship was different. I know Pep since I was 15, and I lived 4.5 years with him every single day, you know, so it is different, but I'm sure that Pep had a great relationship as well with Enzo, which I'm very aware of, and they work and they can be rivals, because as well as the type of person that he had and the relationship that you build. But the same will happen with a player. I had players here, and then I have to play against Granit tomorrow, and I love Granit to bits, and if I have to play on the pitch, we go to war, because I know how he is as well. But outside that, if I can help him with anything, I'm there for sure.
Just picked up on something else you said earlier about having to expand the Premier League squads because it's affecting players' mental health if they're not selected. What did you mean by that, Vijay? If you've been able to see that firsthand, that it's quite damaging if the player isn't selected?
Well, because we have a really unique job, which is we have the ability to transform somebody's life career, which is great, but as well, every week we have to tell somebody, tomorrow you don't do your job. You're not even allowed to travel with the team. So tell me a job that you do that. I cannot go to the kitchen tomorrow and say to 2 of the chefs, today you don't cook, just go there and see how they cook or go home. It's really tough. So someone that wants to feel part of that, he needs to be there, he needs to travel, he needs to be there, and he has to have the feeling that he has a chance. When you take that chance away, you have to leave that player because he feels that he's not good enough. Because at the end, your decision is clear. I choose another 20 players in front of you. And I think this is something avoidable. Why? Because the demands on games are bigger, so we need bigger squads. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to restrict that, in my opinion. So I think we need to expand that and give the possibility to allow everybody to be part of that. And then we can make the right choice in relation to the game, and then we can manage better the minutes, the psychological and emotional moment, and then how we want to change the game. And I think it's better for absolutely everybody. That's my opinion.
Why are English clubs dominating the Champions League? 5 finished in the top 8, with only Newcastle United missing out on automatic qualification for the last 16. We'd love your voice notes on this, so please get in touch. We've just told you how to. Arsenal's 8 wins from 8 puts them top, Liverpool 3rd, Spurs 4th, Chelsea 6th and Manchester City 8th. Now, if Newcastle make it through a playoff against either Monaco or Qarabağ in February, it'll mean 6 English clubs are in the knockout phase for the first time. Good morning, Darren McAntony. Right, so why do you think English clubs are at this stage dominating?
Yeah, you can talk about financial power, the competitiveness of the Premier League. I think styles make football games, and the Premier League's changed a lot in the last 12 months. It's a lot more physical, it's a lot more low block for the bigger teams when they play opposition teams. Long throws, set pieces, as you've seen with Arsenal the last 2 seasons. You then go to Europe, you play, look at Qarabağ. who Liverpool hammered last night, they're still playing out from the back at 5-0 down. They're still playing a certain style. You know, it's not necessarily a low block. They're not putting 10 people behind the ball. They're trying to play football on the floor. So I think a lot of teams do that in Europe. It allows Premier League teams with the talent, skill, the financial power they have to go in and batter lots of teams. That's why it's different.
Yeah, the financial power is something that is often named at the English clubs. In terms of the Deloitte money list, which came out only a week or 2 weeks ago, yes, you know, English clubs do make a lot of money, but actually the top English club of Liverpool, who are fifth, the top four are actually all, well, as you can see here now, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich and PSG. Sure. So you're right, it's not just down to money. That's, I think that
and they'll be thereabouts at the end to win it.
Yes.
And so I said no earlier. I think the English teams are doing great, and that's fantastic. We can secure 5 places, because I think Liverpool are going to need 5th place in the Premier League this year to qualify. But when it goes deep in a competition, you can look at the amount of fixtures, you can look at people being tired. English teams being more tired than some of the European teams who have a Christmas break. I still think at the end of the season it'll be Bayern Munich, PSG or Real Madrid will win the Champions League. Because 2 of those 3 teams won't be, through the month of April, needing to put out the strongest 11 in their domestic fixtures because they'll have tied up the title. Whereas you're going to have in England, you're going to potentially have, say, Man City and Arsenal going right to the death in a title challenge.
So, you see, as a fan, I'm dead against a winter break. We're not going to have a debate about winter break
of course,
right now.
I'm with you on that.
Do you think that later on in the season that will hinder the English clubs, whereas the others will benefit?
Yeah, I do, and I think there's always a small benefit, but it shouldn't stop English clubs from winning the Champions League. I don't think we've won enough Champions Leagues over the last 20, 25 years, do you know what I mean, in comparison to some of the other leagues in Europe, because you made the point there, forget about the top 4. The overall financial power is with the Premier League. It's the most supported league in the world. It's the biggest payday for football clubs. Most of the clubs in Spain would love to join the Premier League, do you know what I mean, because of the money that they get. So there's no doubt in my mind that we're underachieving when it comes to Champions League winners. Yes, we do well in the group stages. Yes, we win the mini Mickey Mouse competitions that aren't the Champions League, that are in Europe. But the Champions League itself, we have to have more winners.
Okay.
Well, Man City have won 1. Liverpool obviously won 1 in the last X amount of years. They've been in 3 finals. Arsenal have never won 1. Spurs have never won 1. Chelsea won a cup. We haven't won enough.
So why are English clubs dominating the Champions League? 5 finished in the top 8, with only Newcastle United missing out on automatic qualification for the last 16. Right, Dara, in terms of the reasoning for this, it appears in the Premier League every single game is very, very tough.
Yeah.
Even for the sides flying at the top.
Particularly the last 18 months.
Think of the last-minute winners that Arsenal have got this season, and they're top of the table by 4 points. Is that a factor in why they're doing so well in Europe when it's not necessarily like that?
Yeah, I think it's a credit to the Premier League as well. We sometimes maybe don't give it enough praise for it's the strongest league in the world. Unfortunately, we haven't won enough Champions Leagues, but when we do get to play in the Champions League in the group stages, our teams seem to have bigger squads, are able to cope with more changes. You don't have teams coming in with low blocks, so there's more open football. I'm watching the team that Liverpool battered 6-0 last night, and the centre half at 4-5-0 down, still playing out 4 yards from the goalkeeper. They're not playing 6 at the back. They're not playing the low blocks, so they're open because they want to score goals and they want to play pretty football.
That used to be the way around, didn't it? It used to be the way around when actually in Europe, the English clubs weren't used to teams with the, low block.
Yeah, you get 1-0 or it'd be tight.
It's like, oh, God, it's tough.
Yeah.
Whereas now it seems like teams in Europe are actually being more expansive, and the Premier League teams are doing what made those clubs successful in Europe.
You could almost argue, and you're not going to love me saying this here on Sky, the Premier League's become a little bit dinosaur-like the last 12 months with the long throws, the set pieces, the physicality. It's like going back to the 90s. So things have changed.
Doesn't mean it's not entertaining.
It doesn't mean it's not entertaining. Some would argue differently recently, but it will change again. And I think that's down to managers and styles and just change. You look at it now, a set piece is such a weapon. You'd have, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, the idea, speaking to Pep Guardiola about set pieces and the importance of scoring every set piece and doing it this way and that way. It's just different now. And now you've got set piece coaches. Everything just changes, like an evolution. Whether it's a good thing, a bad thing, I don't know. But you look at the Champions League, there's probably more goals, it's a bit more open. But as it gets deep into the stages, I worry about, obviously, Premier League teams. I worry about the fact that if they don't use their squads well, do they run out of steam? Why haven't we won enough Champions Leagues over the last 20 years? That's a big question. So you would always favour Bayern Munich, PSG, Real Madrid late in that tournament.
Right, OK, we've had a voice note on this from Latvia.
there's too much money in the Premier League and the quality is much more. Unfortunately, the style of football in the Premier League has dropped off. It's turned into more of an NFL basketball style of league, but the Premier League is just a powerhouse.
Yeah,
Powerhouse in the Premier League.
Not wrong
We did
financially.
make the point in the last hour that the four richest clubs
Yeah.
in Europe are not English clubs.
Of course, but there's restrictions on what they can spend. You know, particularly in Spain nowadays, if you go say two of the top four clubs, were they in there from Spain?
Yeah, Barca and Real
PSG,
Madrid were in
Real
there.
and Barca.
Yeah.
But you'd also say that there's a lot more players internationally coming now into the Premier League than some of those leagues. So the Premier League will only get stronger. I called our industry, it'll be the first $1 trillion industry. Not $1 billion industry, will be $1 trillion industry. Because it's growing and growing, which is good business for us.
Trickle down to the EFL, you hope.
You like think eventually that we get more than £1 million a year, yeah? While our overlords get over 300 million a year.
Of January. This is TalkSport Breakfast with you this morning. Ali and Gabby refreshed after watching some unbelievable football last night. Loved it. And I bet you guys out there did too. Now, if you like your cricket, listen up. England returns to South Africa next winter. As always, the Barmy Army will be out there in full force. And this time, you could be too. We're giving away a week for two at the 2027 New Year's Test in Cape Town. Every day of the match at one of the world's greatest cricket grounds with flights, hotel and spending money all covered. Listen up, here's how to enter. Love the music, Ed. I see what you did there. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rates, or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close on the 6th of February 26, obviously at 4 p.m. That again is when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. Once again, your chance, text WIN to 83338 now. Okay, good luck to you guys. Back to last night, because if you're a football fan, you must have been absolute heaven. We all were. Last night, 18 games, goals flying in from every corner of Europe. Tremendous, including one, the very last one, from a goalkeeper from who else's team but Jose Mourinho. The last second goal sealed a place in the playoffs. Incidentally, they thought they were there, found out they weren't there, and then the next minute, the goalkeeper's up for a last second free kick. The Portuguese side, and Jose Mourinho gave his reaction immediately after the game to TNT Sports. Here we go.
When I make the changes, I was told is enough. So let's close the door. A few seconds later, they tell me we need one more goal, but I cannot make more changes. In that moment, we are playing with one player more. So we have the game in the pocket. I just want to close the door, and I think it's enough. I have no idea of what is going on. When I was told we need one more goal, honestly, I was upset.
I mean, it was hilarious because we're sitting watching it, right? And just to back up what you said, Gab, the ball comes through to the goalkeeper, if you remember, and he takes it on his chest. Yeah. And we're all cheering, going, oh, look at him, he's killing a bit of time. And then all of a sudden, he gets the message. By the way, never mind taking your chest. Get up for a free kick. It was.
Like you said, you fancied them, and I fancied them because one down to 9 men after Rodrigo got sent off. Mbappe and Vinny Jr. aren't going to attack the ball defensively. No. I think Vinny Jr. was playing on halfway line, with 9 men, not helping his team out. But defensively, Real Madrid aren't great anyway, are they?
Oh, I know, mate.
At defending set pieces.
Yeah.
But
sending off were
moment.
poor as well.
Yes.
So, okay, we're going to try and dissect the absolute carnage of last night. Let's say a very good morning to European football expert Dougie Critcher. Dougie, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Dougie.
Good morning, guys. I'm very good, thank you. Great to be on.
Right, Dougie, the floor is yours. What did we watch last night? It was unbelievable, wasn't it?
It really was. It feels like Jose Mourinho, more than any other manager, is really the kind of king of Europe, winning the Champions League with FC Porto, winning the treble with Inter Milan, some dramatic nights with Chelsea and Real Madrid. He's won all 3 of the major competitions, the only manager to do so. So that goal in the last minute by Trubin, what a moment. And a fantastic night for English sides as well.
Yeah.
5 of the 6 sides taking places in the top 8. Newcastle continuing a great record against PSG, getting a draw in the Parc des Princes without Bruno Guimaraes playing in that game, with the likes of Joe Willock coming to the fore, who hasn't had a brilliant season, Jacob Ramsey playing his role as well. So I think most English sides will be absolutely delighted with progressing automatically through to the last 16.
What about Chelsea? I watched a Chelsea game. I thought first half maybe weren't at their best, but second half a lot better. Reece James at centre half was a bit of a strange one. He changed that and brought Saliba on second half. But João Pedro, especially his first goal, was world class, wasn't it?
It really was. And he, more than any other Chelsea attacker, feels like he's really become Liam Rossinia's man. I mean, that's 4 goals in his last 4 games now for Chelsea. Interestingly, this was Chelsea's first away win in the competition since October 2022. They'd lost 4 of their previous 5, only drawing against Qarabag in that time. Napoli have been a bit of a mess in the last few weeks, mainly due to injury. Kevin De Bruyne has missed the entire season, or since at least October. Lukaku's been out as well. They've dropped to 9 points behind Inter Milan in the race for the Scudetto, due to those injuries, of course. So Antonio Conte's side, who have a really poor record, or Conte does, in the Champions League. He's only ever won 17 of close to 50 games in the competition. They just ran out of steam last night, but Liam Rosinio will be delighted, given the fact it's their first year back in the competition for 3 years, to automatically qualify for that last 16.
Dougie, what about the likes of Liverpool, obviously City and Arsenal? You would suggest maybe comfortable victories, but I think it is well worth mentioning in the Champions League campaign, an absolutely flawless performance from Arsenal.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. They've now won 8 consecutive Champions League matches. Only Man City have ever put together a longer winning run, and that was with 10 up to March 2024. They scored all 3 goals last night from open play, which I think a lot of Arsenal fans will be delighted about. And they have been way more free-flowing in the Champions League.
Yeah.
They created 43 big chances in the league phase. That was more than any other side level with Liverpool. It was great to see Kai Havertz back on the score sheet as well. So many Arsenal fans were hoping that he would be fit to start the season and they could more ease in Victor Gyökeres in his new surroundings. That hasn't happened. Gabriel Martinelli's now scored 6 Champions League goals this season. Only Thierry Henry with 7 has ever scored more for Arsenal in a Champions League campaign. And then Liverpool, the pressure that Arne Slot's been under as well. You might say they're only playing Qarabag, but Qarabag won against Benfica earlier this year as well. They beat Eintracht Frankfurt, who Spurs dispatched last night as well. But 6-0 was Arne Slot's biggest win as Liverpool manager. You look at Florian Wirtz getting back on the score sheet, Dominic Szoboszlai as well, 6 goal contributions in the league phase. Only Mo Salah has ever put together a longer run of consecutive games, contributing a goal or an assist. So great stuff from Dominic Szoboszlai, and Van Dijk also got 3 assists, the first time a Champions League defender has done that.
Do you tell me, Anthony Gordon had some comments the day before yesterday saying he was particularly enjoying the Champions League because he felt it was a lot more open. Teams would have a little bit of a go. Now, I'm looking at last night and I'm thinking last night backs that up, because not just for Newcastle, for example, but I'm looking at Arsenal, I'm looking at teams playing against Liverpool, whether it's City. And was it just last night because it's the final game of that particular section that everybody kind of goes for it? Or generally speaking, do you believe that teams are far more open and far more attack-minded than they are perhaps domestically in the English League?
Yeah, I think Anthony Gordon put it really well, Ali, and I do agree with him. I think what's happened actually is in the last few years, because the Premier League has spent so much more money than the rest of Europe, all up and down the league. You know, we've had multiple seasons where the Premier League has spent more than the other top 4 major leagues combined. And it's led to a situation where up and down the league, even if you pick out, say, Sunderland, where there's Granit Xhaka or Brian Brobby or Mukiele, or Everton with Iliman Ndiaye and Grealish, etc., there's Champions League level players that would start for the majority of other Champions League clubs in other countries.